Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 436, recorded live on Sunday, July 10th. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have returning from the Damsels of DDO and the DDO Cocktail Hour, Lessah.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
We also have, from his YouTube channel and some other places, Axel.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Welcome back, guys. This week's screenshot, whirling blades rip a hole in the fabric of space and time, and the 276 screenshot of the week. Really nice picture, appropriate for our discussion today. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can watch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOCast.com. DDOCast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be next weekend. And you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOCast.com, with our calendar. On the podcast this week, we've got a little bit of game news. I'll go over that, some community news, and our focus this week, we're going to be continuing our discussion on spell selection, or a series on spell selection. And this week, we're going to be looking at Clerics, Favored Souls, and Paladins, which are basically your divine class. Technically, Druids and Rangers are divine casters, but we'll talk about them in another time. So, to start with, we'll start with Clerics and Favored Souls. And I think, just to start off the discussion, what's your approach to, what do you take for your curing, healing spells? What's kind of your approach and which ones you like to use? Because that's going to be the main kind of focus generally for people that are playing these classes. And then we'll go through the spells by level.
Was that a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I wasn't sure. Was that a question?
Yes.
Well, for me personally, in heroics at low levels, generally you want to be using your Cure Serious potions unless you are a new player and you can't afford them, just because a lot of your low-level healing spells will heal for not as much or just as much as this potion, and you may as well save the spell points. But if you can't afford that, you've got your burst, which you get, I believe, at level 6. You've got your cure light wound spells, which not great, but you got to use your SP for something at low levels. But as I get,
go
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Lessah, what's your approach to your healing spells?
As far as I'm concerned, there's really only you're talking about for cleric, right?
Well, and Favored Souls.
Yeah, there's really only 3 spells that exist ever for any reason. That's, you need 1 heal, you need 1 raise dead, and you need 1 blade barrier. And then you get to use up all your mana till you don't have it anymore, right?
Something
You're
like
good. Yeah.
I would
That's
say my approach
Done.
with
Donezo.
my approach with healing is probably I always have heal, or at the biggest cure spell I can have if I can't memorize heal, number 1 on my hotbar for a healing type, just because it's the easiest button to hit. I always got it at my disposal. Favored Soul Clerics, you have access to all of the cure spells, right? You get them all for free.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it a little easier. Favored Soul don't, which can be a little trickier. And I tend to, as a result, have fewer cure spells at my disposal on my Favored Soul. I like to have a minimum of 4 healing spells for my Favored Soul. Heal is one of them, and then the other one just kind of, it depends on how my spells play out, right? Because some spell levels are more useful and packed with better spells than others. And basically, like, if you look at my hotbar for healing, generally 1, 2, 3, 4 are going to be my healing spells. And I want at least one of those to be a mass spell. It used to be essentially heal and then either cure critical or cure serious, depending on what I had at my disposal, and then probably mass cure crit and mass cure moderate. I usually the mass ones I usually split up a little bit more. Didn't go for necessarily the biggest. But I think in today's game, mass healing is less of a thing. It tends
Yeah,
to be more
definitely.
spot healing. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, a lot of people have some self-healing. Two, especially when like in raids, they just seem a lot more spread out these days. And I don't know if there's a really good way to explain why that is, but people just tend to be more spread out during a raid, so mass curing doesn't necessarily get you as far with your spell points.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, from a cleric side, like 95% of my healing is done through Radiant Servant or in bursts. And I always kind of have the attitude of going with that first over any spell because it's free and it regenerates. So generally, I think that's the right attitude to use the free healing when possible. Other than that, yeah, when those are on cooldown, if you need a mass cure, those are there. But generally, and if you need a heal, like at a distance or something, that's good. But generally, you want to be using your relying on your Radiant Servant for your cleric, and taking the special meta magics to boost that, so it's useful at the later levels.
The one thing with the burst and the aura from Radiant Servant that you do need to be aware of is, and I've seen a lot of clerics make this mistake, it doesn't prevent you from getting killed. So don't I mean that stuff's all centered on you, right? Cure spells you can throw across the room, thankfully. If you're playing pen and paper rules, you would have to touch, which would be both awkward and difficult given how spread out the game is. But in DDO you can throw those spells. The aura and the burst you can't, and I've seen many a cleric run up to use a burst only to get flattened by some sort of boss or whatever, because they're not really thinking about what they're running towards. So something to keep in mind. So with that, let's talk about level 1 for Clerics and Favored Souls. What are some spells that you like in this one, Axel?
For me, not too many from this level, but Night Shield's a really good one to protect you from magic missiles. It's a pretty big deal at low levels. There tend to be a lot of mobs that will throw those missile spells. And then for your melee clerics, Divine Favor, it's not amazing. It gives you a little bit of damage, but it's a buff that I've kind of gotten in the habit of just hitting at all times. You may as well take the luck bonus to damage with that spell.
Yeah, it's not bad. Level 1 is pretty slim pickings, and you get a lot of spells out of here, so you always kind of like, what are you going to take?
There's not too much.
Someone asked a few weeks ago, asked why shield instead of night shield, or why night shield instead of shield. When we were talking about wizards and sorcerers and warlocks, and I think really the biggest thing for me with this is consistency. I can take night shield on my divine. I can't take shield on my divines, and that way I'm always looking for the same symbol. I think it's kind of the reason why I tend to use night shield over shield. But yeah, it's protecting from magic missiles, which surprisingly in epic content and when you get later levels, they can hit you for a lot with magic missile. It's a little scary how much damage they can do.
Yeah, it is a spell that actually retains its value pretty well through the game.
I know some people like command. You'll get a better version later, but early on it can work pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty much it for level 1. Level 2, the one that I think that kind of stands out the most is Resist Energy. For me, it's kind of a quick must. I do want to mention, so Lesser Restoration is good. You can get that in wands or potions. So it's not one that I tend to memorize right away, but it is one I usually end up having, again, because you have a lot of spells as particularly a cleric. Favorite Soul is a little bit less, but I just don't tend to use level 2 spells very long. Sound Burst can be useful early on. Spawn Screen is there. I occasionally use it. I don't know. It's very situational. I'm not even sure if it works effectively.
Yeah, I've never
used
even
it so
really
few times. So that's kind of what's there. What do you like out of here?
Well, everything you mentioned, but also Seek Eternal Rest is not bad. Gives you a +4 to your turning level, which is good for clerics at Turning it loses its value later on, but early in the game, especially if you have past lives, it can be really helpful.
Turning has to be an investment. If you're really going to go in turning, you pretty much got to go big or go home.
Well,
Later.
it's not too
Later
hard.
in the
Yeah,
game.
later, and definitely later. But at your low and mid levels, like I would run a melee cleric and not even put too much in Chaw and not have too much trouble turning stuff. Of course, I have 3 past lives, cleric past lives, but especially if you have past lives. But
Yeah.
it's not too hard to turn at your low levels.
It
And
is
it's
a
nice to
cleric
just
only
hit a
spell,
button.
which is worth
Yeah.
mentioning. There's one other spell out here that I think bears mentioning, and that's Find Traps. Not so much necessarily from a cleric standpoint, but for a trapper, it can help you because it gives you a bonus to finding traps. And you can scroll this so that it can be an option for those characters. It gives you an insight bonus to your search skill, which can help you find the box so you can disable it, which is usually, in my experience, finding the trap box is the hardest part of disabling a trap. It's usually the most difficult because you don't really get a roll. You don't get that extra roll number. Whereas disable device, you can get it. You're probably going to be more, or people tend to have, or at least they used to have, more stat bonus going towards disable than they did for find traps. It's less true these days, but it can be a helpful one to kind of boost that. Not usually for a divine character, although there are a few divines that do traps, but something to keep in mind for those non-divine people out there. But, all right, level 3. What do you like in level 3?
Protection for energy, I think, is the main one. Gives you temporary HP towards an energy type. Can't be run through traps. I think that's its main use.
Yeah, I tend to favor the mass protections just because it's fewer spells to cast and stuff. But
yeah, same here. But at this level, you don't have it until level I think 4. So
I think 5.
At this level, you throw on the fire protection, you run through a fire trap. It can be helpful in that way.
Yeah, it's early on, certainly when you're running through those low level, particularly if you're doing low level elites and you're maybe not on a really twinked out character, or you are not someone that is adept at dodging traps and running through traps. There's a few of those at low levels you might have to go through and can be quite deadly. It can be helpful to get you through those traps, absolutely. Let's see, some ones to note. Magic Circle against Evil, I think, is probably one of the better ones out of here. It's a little bit of a sleeper. It's protection of evil mass is essentially what it is. And the reason why I like it is it protects you against Creator Command. And there are several places where that is necessary. So just kind of want to think about Dispel Magic. I don't use this as a memorized spell typically, but you find wands of this, and I tend to disperse them through my characters and then use them on spell words if I need to. So that's one.
Go ahead.
So this is also where you can get remove curse, remove blindness, remove disease. First of all, I would say that I do carry remove curse. That has more to do with the fact that I have lots of spells that I can pick here that I'm not going to use a lot of the other spells. But these are all things that you can get in potions, and with potions you can cast them on other people without having to use spell points or switch to a wand. Having said that, I will use up wands whenever I seem to get them as much as I am able to.
Yeah. For me, I agree. Like, all this stuff is available in potions, or through other ways. But what it can do though is save you inventory slots. Specifically, if you're a hoarder, if you don't want to carry around all the remove curse potions, or if you don't want to carry around a water breathing item, whatever, you can use these spells for that. I tend not to, but there has been times where my inventory has gotten tight, where I throw away my potions and use this stuff. And that may not be as good of an option on a caster cleric, but on a melee cleric, I typically have more spell points than I know what to do with, so burning the extra spell points isn't a huge deal.
It's important to note, too, that the heal spell, which we'll talk about later, does cure blindness and disease. And Panacea does as well. Doesn't get rid of the curse part, cursing, but it does get rid of a lot of other conditions. Did you talk about prayer?
I did not.
Is that one that you use? Because I know you tend to favor melee
typically,
clerics.
It's, it's just a +1 bonus. To me, I don't feel that it's worth the cast time, but I've seen it used by other people, but I typically don't bother.
I want to talk a little bit
It
about...
doesn't last very long either.
Right. I do want to mention Searing Light. Particularly if you're going light focused, it can really give you a nice ramp up on damage. You can... Clerics can get it as a spell-like ability, which is great. Favorite Soul don't. But they can still obviously use it. To quite a bit of effect, I actually redid my Favorite Soul as a light spec caster, and he can pop some damage with Searing Light, that's for sure. So.
Yeah, and even for a melee cleric, this is a spell that's useful from time to time because there will be enemies you can't reach.
Right.
So it's good for that. If you don't have a thrower, or if you have some light spell power somehow, this might actually do a little bit more damage, just depending on your character.
Yeah, it's going to be situational. What do you actually, can you use in terms of spell power, right?
Yeah.
And I will say when you get into epic levels, there's a bunch of Master of feats that apply to different low-level spells, and they increase the maximum caster level by 10 or something like that. And I did find that in terms of light spells, that it was actually pretty applicable, and really added some extra damage to Searing Light, because there is a maximum. The maximum damage on this is somewhat lower than other spells, and it lets you get a lot more damage out of it. I guess we could toss out Mass Aid as well. It can't. I mean, it's extra hit points.
Oi! Don't downplay Mass Aid. I cast it so that my party thinks I care about them.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, level 4s. What do you like out of level 4?
The freedom of movement is a big one. Helps you with stuff like web, grease.
That's word. Oh, grease. What? Freedom. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I thought you were casting grease, not like.
Oh, please, no.
It's a party buff.
Other than that, restoration, it's a little bit better version of Lesser Restore. It cures your ability damage and removes 1 negative level. I don't think Lesser Restore cures any negative levels.
It does not. It also, Restore gets rid of all of your stat damage. A Lesser Restore only gets rid of a certain number, like a D4 worth of stat damage.
Yeah, yeah. Also, Death Ward that Lessah mentioned. It's really amazing. Prevents all those instant death spells and effects. However, you have to be wary because it can be dispelled by enemies like Beholders that can debuff it and then kill you anyways.
Yep.
So you have to be wary of that. Other than Death Ward, I like Divine Power can be useful depending on your build. This will give you a +6 enhancement bonus to Strength, some temporary HP, and it will boost your attack bonus to be the same as a fighter. This can be helpful up until you get a +6 Strength item, but after that, it's really only useful if you're having 2-hit problems, which typically you won't. So I think it's a spell that it loses its value definitely in epics and higher heroics, but it can be useful.
One thing with the base attack bonus thing is it gives you a little bit faster of an attack speed. Your attack speed is partially based on your base attack bonus. You might get an extra attack. I don't quite remember what the extra attack sequences are, or the numbers are. But depending on where you are, you might get an extra attack out of it too. Certainly,
really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, certainly you're going to. You might not get as much bang for the buck out of it later, and there's other ways to increase your base attack bonus, but it does give you a little bit more of a benefit than just to hit. And it might not be a lot of extra for that, but it's there. So it's something to kind of keep in mind, right?
Yeah.
One thing we didn't mention it with prayer, but one thing with prayer is that it applies the luck bonus to skill checks, which you can use to help, say, a trapper if they're having trouble and they don't already have a luck bonus. Might not make a lot of difference, but something to keep in mind. Let's see, other level 4 spells. Neutralize poison can be helpful. Again, you can get this in a potion. The one thing I'll mention about neutralize poison is if you're fighting a green dragon, the dot that they spit on you is a poison effect. So neutralize poison will make it go away. Handy trick. Panacea is one that I keep handy. I don't use it a lot, mostly because I don't tend to think about... with a lot of these, like, remove such and such condition, like remove paralysis, and a lot of these other conditions you can end up with, they don't tend to last a whole lot of time, so sometimes I'm not always thinking about it. And most of the stuff that Panacea will cure will be cured by heal, but not everything. There's a couple of things that Panacea will actually get off of you that heal will not. So it can be useful to carry. Let's see, other things out of here. Recitation is +2 to some stuff. It's a luck bonus, so it may not be as useful later. Divine Power is a really good one. I thought it was a level 5. No, you were talking about Divine Power. Sorry, I'm thinking a different one.
Divine Power, isn't that level
I was thinking
4?
Divine Punishment.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just cruising through the list.
Later.
Yeah. There's a bunch of attack spells in level 4. I don't use them. It's mostly alignment-based damaged, and I just don't use them.
I've seen Holy Smite used occasionally
Yeah,
at low levels by some players, but I don't know that it's... They've got their SLAs nowadays in your Divine Disciples, so I'm not sure how much it'll be used.
I've tried playing with them. My general sense or conclusion was essentially that the damage is too low, and alignment damage can be a little tricky to figure out who's what. And it can be very situational, so I just tend not to use it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Level 5. Break Enchantment is a great one to have some scrolls around for spell wards. Also, there's a few things that you can use it on. Most notably, although less run these days, we use it in Lord of Blades a lot for the dog goo. Raise Dead is great. You can scroll it, but it's also nice to have it in... Raise Dead is one of the ones you can scroll it to save spell points, but...
Yeah, but the other thing is you can't quicken it on a scroll.
You can't quicken it, exactly.
Yep.
And raising is probably something you're going to have to do from time to time in a very dire situation. Particularly if you are Lessah and are the cleric for our permadeath group. There are going to be situations where raising needs to happen.
We're gonna die no matter what. And a little bitty piddly raised dead spell that brings you back with almost no health is probably not going to help you in the Cursed Splat group, because you're gonna die very quickly. Somebody's gonna take your health away. Because the Cursed Splatters, they don't know how to drink potions. They're strangers to potions and vegetables.
And I think it's worth...
What are potions?
I think it's worth noting that the raise spells, all three of them, they're on separate cooldowns, so they maintain their value even into higher levels.
There are definitely times where you just need to go nuts with the raising. Generally speaking, if I cast a Raise Dead, I try and keep the person targeted so that I can give them a heal as soon as they're up, just to get them more on their feet. That's something to keep in mind. Let's see, you get spell resistance here, which can be helpful. I mean, I cast it in mass. I don't ever really tend to cast it singly, unless maybe I'll cast it on myself if I'm in an area that I know it might be helpful. Protection from elements is protection from each element, all of them at the same time. This is the single target version, but it's helpful. True Seeing is definitely one to keep around. You can scroll it as well. So, bear in mind which way you want to go with that. Let's see.
Yeah, there tend to be a lot of mini bosses and such who have displacement on, so it's really handy.
There's certain
really boost
quests
your
where there's a
DPS.
whole bunch of casters that pretty much the first thing they always do is cast displacement on themselves and then all their buddies.
Yeah, there's certain spells certain quests where this spell is extremely important.
Yeah. Greater Command is a great offensive crowd control spell. I tend not to use it as much myself, mostly because it's an enchantment spell, and if I'm going DC, I'm going to go Evocation for a spell that we'll talk about later. Divine Punishment, this is the one I was thinking about earlier. It's a light dot, great handy spell. I probably don't get as much bang for my buck out of this one as I do for the dot spells for casters. But it's still, this is still one of my primary offensive casting spells, at least for damage.
Yeah,
for a single
it
target.
used to be. Sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
No, I was done.
Okay. Yeah, this used to be amazing, kind of back when Cap was 20, kind of in that era of the game. It's not, lacking a little bit today just because it doesn't scale, but in Heroics especially, it's definitely your main boss killer, and it doesn't have a DC, so it's just as useful for your melee cleric as your caster cleric. You may not have as high of light spell power if you're a melee cleric, but it's still you aren't prevented from using it. It's not based on a DC check or anything like that.
You also get Slay Living at this level, which is good when you get it. The downside is you have to run up and touch them. It's not a spell you can toss. So, something to keep in mind.
Right. I think it's on a separate cooldown, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a separate
From
cooldown.
destruction. So, that's something.
You
But
still
yeah,
have to
the
touch.
range. Yeah, the range makes it tough.
What's your view on Stalwart Pact?
My view is it's not really worth it. Not worth it. I just don't bother.
I think it was more useful when Cap was lower.
It's not
in
it's
Heroics
not
and
enough.
stuff.
Yeah, I used to use it like all the time, but now it's just, it's just not. You're probably gonna die anyways. The DR is
If you're
only
at a
5.
shrine, I might pass it out, but yeah, I don't
Yeah.
tend to toss it out quite as much.
Yeah.
I will mention Symbol of Pain is here if you want to go for kind of doing some debuffing, and you can get. I know as a player, Symbol of Pain is a real pain because you can't get rid of it. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of debuffing in general, unless we're talking about quick, like something like Hypnotism to drop will saves really quick for the next spell. Level 6. What do you like in level 6?
There's several level 6. Just going down the list here, Greater Dispel Magic is useful situationally because it can reduce the level of spellboard traps.
You can
So
also scroll this one. It's a good scrolling
Yeah,
one.
that's true. You can also scroll it, and that's probably a better idea since if you're using it on a trap, time won't really be an issue, and it's quite spell point intensive. Heal, of course, is your bread and butter kind of oh crap heal or a healing spell. You can quicken it. It pretty much heals everyone to full, so it's great. But you really don't want to rely on it for your everyday continuous healing because it's a good way to drain your spell points, but it's there as kind of an oh crap heal. Word of Recall is kind of a poor man's version of Teleport, which if you don't have UMD, it's quite useful for Divine. If you don't have UMD for Teleport Scrolls or you don't have some kind of Teleport clicky, it brings you to the temple in House D, which isn't too bad of a teleport location. I wish it was a little bit closer to your ship entrance, but it's not too bad. It's only 2 loading screens to get to your ship, and there's actually an auction house and a mailbox right outside the temple. So it's okay. I used it for quite a while until I started running builds with UMD. It's okay.
I was kind of
Next
wondering if Lessah was going to take Word of Recall first or Blade Barrier first in our corresponding group.
I was about to say, I only see 3 spells on this list that I really need. And like I told you, you need Heal, you need Blade Barrier, and then I'm going to memorize Word of Recall so that I can save myself and leave the rest of you to get eaten by whatever it is in the dungeon.
Well, one good thing
Your
about Word of
solidarity is
Recall.
appreciated.
You're welcome.
Kind of the one thing Word of Recall has over your teleport scrolls is it can be quickened. So if you're in one of those situations in a raid or a quest, whenever you know you're going to wipe, it's just going, the whole quest is just going to crap. You can hit it and leave, and you don't have to wait for any kind of startup time, anything like that. You can't get interrupted.
I do not recommend hotkeying Word of Recall because
Oh,
if you're playing
yes.
permadeath and you
Yes.
get really scared, sometimes you just hit it just out of fright, and the next thing you know, your party's asking for a heal. Things are going south. You're sitting in the temple going, "Oh, guys, I have something to tell you." True
I
story.
may have done that on the last part of the shroud before, just possibly. No, I've done that several times, and I kind of learned my lesson. I put it way away from my other spells.
Actually, what I like to do with my teleport spells is I bury that hotbar. So I put it on a hotbar that's not expanded. It's behind my main hotbar. So I have to actually switch to that hotbar first before I can use it. I do that with all my teleporty stuff.
Yeah, I do that too, except somehow I managed to switch to that hotbar.
It can happen. It can happen.
Just from time to time. But anyways, the next spell I have is Blade Barrier.
I think we should let Lessah talk
Great
about
spell.
Blade Barrier.
Yeah, go ahead.
Blade Barrier? It's super easy. You just cast it, and then you run around in a circle until everything dies. The end.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Pretty much how it works.
Always have it maximized and empowered so that it costs the absolute most spell points, and you're good.
You know, it's your kind of go-to spell when you're soloing, in heroics at least. It doesn't scale to epic, so it drops off a bit as far as the damage goes, but it's still really useful if you're a caster. You can get a really high damage out of it. You know, it's really nice for kiting.
It looks cool.
Even it does have a DC, but the DC only makes it so the spell does half damage. So even if you're a melee cleric and you don't have a high wisdom DC, you can still use this. You'll just have to kite for twice as long.
There you go.
Unless you're against things that have evasion.
That's true. Yes, that's a good point. When
And then you can just turn around and throw your light SLAs at them until they die.
Yep.
You're good to go. If I have a necro in the group, I will memorize harm at this level because it's the full heal for them.
That's what I was going to.
They don't really need you per se, but I have been in situations before with necros where they did need healing, and they appreciate it.
Yeah, they do.
The thing with playing a Pale Master is you don't really have a lot. You have self-healing, but your self-healing is somewhat limited, actually, because you're basically looking at one burst with a cooldown and then your auras. And that's pretty much it, because you don't actually get harm as a wizard, so harm can really give some unlife to your Pale Masters. Be really helpful.
You can also heal their skeletons if you feel, generous. And there's a spell that we get called Create Undead. And one of the things we can do is heal our own guys that we call. Is this where you get the mummy, Create Undead?
Yes.
Or is that in a different spell?
So.
Yeah. The mummy is super useful because he fears things that are kind of not even close. He'll just turn around and start running. And if he needs healing, boom, you can give it to him.
Yep. I think for me, level 6 is one of the more packed levels. You can get banishment here, which can be helpful. Again, the DC can be kind of tricky for a cleric, particularly if we're talking about not evocation. Comet Fall, I know a lot of people like Comet Fall because it doesn't just do damage; it also has a knockdown effect. Again, DC is not evocation, so they can be a little bit more challenging. Hero's Feast, a lot of people like Hero's Feast. My only real complaint about it is you have to wait until you shrine to actually get anything out of it. I tend only to cast it at a shrine because people can die and lose the thing before they shrine, kind of deal. You can get undeath to death here. It's necromancy, so again, it's not. My general rule of thumb with my cleric is if it's not evocation and it's a DC, it's probably not going to work. So, at least once you get past level, like your own spell level, your own level of what you're running into epics and stuff. So, should we move on to level 7?
Yeah.
This one gets a little fun. Destruction is nice. It's a necromancy spell, but you can throw it at least and hope for the best. Resurrection is here, so it's a better raised dead. It's a good one to have. Even on my favorite soul, my favorite soul carries raised dead and resurrection. My cleric has all 3, but my favorite soul doesn't have enough level 9 spells, so it's just resurrection. You can get mass restoration, which is kind of like a rich man's energy burst, really, because energy burst will also heal some stuff that restoration does.
And Mass Restore has some really good uses in certain situations, like the beholder, like the beholder fight in the Necro 4. What's the name of that quest? I don't recall.
I think your burst though gives a restoration, right?
Well,
or it gives a lot of the effects of restoration, so it's not one that I really go for.
The thing though is the beholder. You can't. Well, yeah, I guess you're right, but I tend to use Mass Restore anyways.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not one that I tend to use. Greater Restore, you can scroll this, but it's a good one to have. If you've got high UMD, it's a great one for anyone to have because it gets rid of all of your negative levels all at the same time, which, particularly in later, about the time that you get Greater Restoration, you start getting negative levels in bunches. It's not usually just singly anymore, it's bunches. All at once. Mass spell resistance is what I prefer to have is spell resistance. Usually don't take spell resistance, and I have mass spell resistance instead. And mass protection from elements, which is my preference over normal protection of elements, personally. I'm not a symbol person in general. I don't know if you use either the symbol of stunning or symbol of weakness.
Not this one. I use I use symbol of death, which is in level 8, but this one, no, I don't use it.
Yeah. I have seen people use symbol of stunning, but not for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you like out of level 7?
Did we mention destruction?
I mentioned it.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it's kind of if you're a Necro cleric or Necro favorite soul, it's your kind of your go-to spell.
Even if you're not, it's a good. And level 7's a little lacking. Level 6 has a bunch of great spells. Level 7, not as much.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially if you're gonna just scroll Greater Restoration or Mass Restoration. So let's talk about level 8. You were already talking about Symbol of Death. What do you like about Symbol of Death?
Yeah, Symbol of Death. It's not amazing, but it's one of those things where you can use in certain situations, like where you're going to be facing a big group of enemies. What's the name of that quest? There's a couple quests where it's really useful, like breaking the ranks when all those giants run out. It's really useful in situations like that when you can get just tons of negative levels. Helps your casters in your party hit their spells a little better. Takes some HP off the mobs. What else? I like Death Pact is
on Symbol of Death. I kind of like if you get to that big place, you're gonna cast it. I like casting that and then putting a blade barrier on it. Because I'm probably gonna kite him through that area anyways. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the other thing about it. You
punch.
can kite them. It's pretty good for. I think it's better for soloing because you can kite them in and out of it and just get multiple negative levels. Mm-hmm. And they do recover the negative levels pretty fast, but they don't get they still lose the HP. Other than that, Death Pact is. I don't use it that much, but it can be situationally useful. It will restore you when you die, but it gives you a permanent -2 to Constitution. Nowadays, I have the Gibbers. Yeah, until you rest. I have the Gibbers blade nowadays, so I tend not to use this, but it's there.
There's a thing with Death Pact, and this it's probably a bug, and it's been this way for a long time. But what happens is, as best as I can tell, if you die from something that causes a reflex save, like a trap or something, you lose the benefit from it. It doesn't let you come back. It just kills you twice.
I didn't know that.
So and I've seen that happen a lot. So that can be problematic for it. Having said that, if you know you're going to a place that's challenging, or if you're running with our perma death group, death pack can be helpful. It can kind of maybe save you.
You're assuming that we're going to get to this level.
True.
If we do get to this level, I will be memorizing death pack.
Well,
Can
kind of
you
one of the other
afford the
things.
ingredients? It does have a special ingredient.
I can't afford them. Oh my god, you're right. You have to have diamonds.
Yeah, that's kind of a pain. And also, one thing with Death Pact is I've kind of noticed one of the other reasons I haven't used it as much is if I die, I tend to just instantly die again because I'm going to still be in that bad situation that caused me to die.
Well, you're the way it's
right.
supposed to work is it casts a raised dead on you, so you can choose when you take it. It's not supposed to be right away. But like I said, there's that bug where sometimes it automatically raises you and you just die again.
Okay, maybe it's the bug I'm running into, but I haven't played with this spell in a while, so.
Did we mention Death Ward Mass?
We did not.
Which is
Super useful.
Yeah, mass version of Death Ward. Yep, everyone always wants this in a raid or really in any quest. People ask for it a lot.
All the time, every day, every quest. Yes. All the
The only time
you've
where it
also
was a pain was when Death Ward prevented Pale Masters from getting cured by negative energy. Other than that, no one ever complained about it.
Yeah, and then they get all mad at you, and it was really funny.
Thankfully,
Yeah,
that's no
good
longer
times,
the
right?
case.
Yeah.
I guess the only other thing I'd mention is Cure Critical Mass is your best mass cure that's in this level. It's kind of your go-to as far if you can't use your burst or if your
Yeah.
mass heal is too slow. Kind of
And
your
it's
go-to.
not like you can
cure.
unmemorize it as a cleric, so it's like,
Yeah.
might as well.
I actually tend to have this on my favorite Cure Critical on my Mass on my favorite soul, because there's not. I mean, Death Ward Mass. I don't think I even usually keep Death Pact on my favorite soul, just my cleric. And I mean, the Slim Pickens level 8 for spells, to be honest. Holy Aura on paper looks great because it gives you immunity to enchantment and charm spells. I don't know if that part actually works.
I don't know either.
I used to cast a lot, and I feel like it just wasn't working, so I kind of tended to stop casting it. But the bonuses to AC and resistance on it are paltry in comparison to what you can get on items at that level, so you're not getting much bang for your buck there. All right, level 9, the big boy spells. What do you like out
Can
of
I
here?
say what's great about level 9 cleric spells? You don't have to choose. You just get them all.
There's only
True.
5.
There's
If
only
you're-
5.
if you're a
You
cleric.
can punch them all.
Sure.
And if
If you're a cleric, favorite soul does not get them all.
Oh, right.
And only if you're pure. If you're not pure, you'll have limited slots. I don't even take 18 cleric on my cleric, so I don't even get any of this stuff. But yeah, if you're a caster, Implosion is going to be your kind of one of your go-to spells.
This is why I go Evocation.
Yeah, but if you're not a caster cleric, then there's not a whole lot here for you. Unfortunately, like Mass Heal used to be your go-to raid healing spell, but nowadays, I think like Patrick was talking about earlier in the podcast, there's not a lot of situation in raiding where everyone's grouped up, and also it's just too slow.
It has a long casting
Yeah.
time, not just a long casting time, which
And
I give props to the developers when they implemented this, because we knew that we were going to get Mass Heal when we were at that level increase, and there was a lot of concern with people I was running with because we were really heavy raiders. What's Mass Heal going to do to the raiding scene? Like if it's just a Mass Cure button, it's just going to make healing super duper easy. And they gave it a long cooldown, which was a great move in terms of a balance perspective. And it was kind of funny when it came out. You saw a lot of players just trying to use Mass Heal all the time. But if you're going to use Mass Heal, you really got to be thinking ahead of the damage and casting ahead of the damage that they're going to be taking.
And that's the thing. Yeah, that's what you had to do back when you were running your shrouds or whatever back in the day. But I think that's kind of not practical in today's game because the game has moved more towards spike damage, and there's just so much deadly spike damage that being able to predict the damage is just so difficult these days. So I don't think it's even worth using today, unfortunately. I mean, maybe on a situational basis, but I tend to only use my burst or my cure criticals, and kind of stay away from this, even when I did have 18 cleric levels and had this spell.
Yep.
And it's one of the reasons I don't take 18 anymore, because Heal Mass has kind of lost its value, in my opinion.
The one spell that level 9 is kind of a bit of a dark horse is Energy Drain, and I've talked about it previously on our spell selection for Wizards, and we kind of mentioned it here too. Negative levels drain hit points, and one Energy Drain can do a lot more damage than any other spell at your disposal against something that can be energy drained, particularly for champions or orange named boss fights in epics, even more so. I've gotten upwards of 40 to 50,000 hit points of damage just from one energy drain, so it can be really powerful for those high level content. Even if you're not going for the negative levels, just so you can destruct something or something like that, just the hit point loss is really useful.
Can I say the other reason why Energy Drain is fun?
Yes.
I like to take my cleric out with Mythery, who is a sorcerer, on Arganessen, and I energy drain whatever mob I want her to trap souls for me, and then it makes it a little easier on her because it lowers their stuff. Yep. I mean, I know a lot of the people don't even craft to that level, but it's fun.
It's a good use for it.
Try it. Just try it sometime.
Did we mention True Res?
Not really. I mean, we talked about resurrecting in general with some of the other ones. You do get True Resurrection. Like I said, I don't carry it on my favorite soul because I don't get enough spell levels to I already have mechanisms to raise with spells and scrolls, so I don't take it. But
Yeah,
clerics get it. I mean, clerics have enough spell slots that they can take it. So
it's the one level 9 spell I wish I could have.
Yep.
I guess because it's useful in raids, especially when there's burst damage everywhere. A lot of the times, if you bring someone up with just a raised dead, they'll die again instantly. So being able to give them that full health bar is really nice. And I have to correct myself because I said that you get level 9 at Cleric 18. You actually get it at Cleric 17 is when you get access to your level 9. So, oops.
That's okay. Favorite
So
soul
what do you
is 18,
take instead of Cleric, then?
4 Paladin, 1 Fighter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Paladin, Lessah, talk to us about Paladin spells.
Wait, what? You know I barely glanced at your show notes, right? It's just
On
like,
the spot.
it's Paladins, whatever. I only memorize and always memorize the same Paladin spells, and I never unmemorize them.
So what do you like?
How do you like that? Hold on, I'm pulling up my Paladin, I'll tell you.
You get a lot of the same spells as Clerics, but there's a few that you get that are...
Over.
Yeah, but there's a few that you get just on your own you get to use.
Yes, special spells like Divine Favor, baby!
That's not a special one.
Cleric
It's
have
not
that.
special.
No, Clerics get that.
Screw Clerics! Paladins are more special!
They get Virtue, though.
Yeah, that's it. There's Virtue. You can bring your Virtue back anytime you want. Isn't that great? You can just be virtuous. They also get there's a lot of crossover. They also get Seek Eternal Rest, which I know you think that it's weird, but my Paladin uses it, and it works even at the epic levels in the Crystal Cove. Because you know why? A mob that isn't hitting you back is easier to kill.
It's true.
So if I can put a skeleton in the tapeworm extrication position until I can beat him to death, I call that a win.
Absolutely.
Right? And I memorize Cure Light Wounds here. there are some other things you can play around with. You can do resistance, which I don't know. Maybe it's useful. I wouldn't know. Lionheart, I don't know. Maybe it's useful. I don't memorize it. Do you?
No, mostly because the paladins are already immune to fear. and
Exactly. Exactly.
be
And
lawful-
why would I
I may
want to
be
cast
lawful
this on
good, but
someone else?
yeah.
I don't care about other people.
That's what greater hero. They can get a greater heroism scroll for that.
Yeah, it might be useful at low levels, maybe in your catacombs quest or something, but I think generally no. Yeah,
And
not much use.
You don't have time. You don't have
Yeah.
time. If they're feared. I'm too busy fighting. You need to go take care of yourself.
I don't have
I
spell
mean,
points for other people.
Yeah, exactly. I've got maybe, especially at the level you're talking about using it, I've got
Yeah.
maybe 100.
Yeah.
No, that's not happening. Oh, and the other thing we should probably mention is you can't even cast spells as a paladin until you reach level 4.
What do you like for level 2?
Level 2! I like resist energy because I like to be able to take care of myself. You can start that at level 8. Oh, that's the other thing you should mention. Your paladin doesn't get to cast these level 2 spells until they reach level 8. So until then, you're kind of dependent on other people if you're or your guild ship or whatever if you're bumming for buffs.
I think resist
If you-
energy is really the only level 2 spell
got
that I
it like
cast.
that. I like to take the enhancement line to be able to memorize Raise Dead, and that's going
Yes.
to be in your Sacred Defender tree. As long as you spend, I think you have to be level 12, first of all, to be able to memorize it. And then I think
It's
have
one
to
of the
spend
core ones, right?
yeah, it's a core enhancement. So as long as you're level 12 and you have enough points to bring that over, then you should be fine. So I like to memorize Raise Dead at this level. It's useful in a permadeath group. I don't do scrolls because I'm holding a sword and screw all of you. There you go. Oh, and I like Angel Skin. Angel Skin's a great spell. Try that on a cleric. No, you cannot. All right?
It's true.
It's basically gives you damage reduction of 5 against evil for a real short period of time, and you can cast it on anyone else in your party that's lawful good. So, running joke with me in my Ducks group every week is the ranger is lawful good. So I get the special buff, and he gets the special buff, and everybody else is like, ha ha ha, you don't get this special buff. It doesn't last very long. Let's see.
It lasts long
Oh.
enough.
It lasts, for my paladin, it lasts 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's not
So,
very long.
it's not very long, but it's useful.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, if it's going to keep me from death, I'm not going to die anyway. I'm a paladin.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Sorry, did that sound arrogant? Because it was. You want to talk about level 3 now? 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm pretty much done. I mean, what else is there? There's
Level
like
2 is
all
not
this
very-
stat stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody
There's not a-
memorizes that. Nobody does that.
Nope.
Isn't
That's
that a lot?
ridiculous. Don't do it. So at level 3, I like to memorize Remove Curse because as a paladin, and the enhancement line that I like to take, I can remove disease 11 times a day. So, and that's not just a remove disease for me as a paladin, that's a full restore. So that's any negative levels or stat damage that I have or anybody else has. And whenever you go in and you get mummy herpes, you can fix yourself. You can throw up remove curse and on someone else, and then you can follow it really quickly by your inherent remove disease, and it fixes them. Because as we all know, clerics are lazy and horrible people, and they don't do anything.
Hey now. I play a
It's
cleric.
always up to the paladin. People are whining. I have stat damage, and the cleric's like over there yawning, got a toothpick in his mouth, like whatever.
Not all the time.
Some of the
Well,
time,
all the time in our Cursed Black group.
yeah. So it's really up to the paladin. Yeah, all the time. Okay, that was a dig at me because I'm the cleric in the Cursed Black group. And that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to be over to the side going like, talk to the paladin if you got mummy rot. Whatever.
You just got Blade Barrier. All the spell points go to Blade Barrier
Yeah.
now.
I don't typically memorize remove blindness at this level because
Bots.
yeah, it's just so much easier, and you pick them up off the ground, and
Yep.
I don't get blinded very often.
I do like the
So for the
Paladins get
times,
Magic Circle against evil at this level.
that's
can
a
be helpful.
really useful spell.
Um,
It's a very
yeah.
useful spell. It's one of the ones that I do memorize, unless I'm gonna replace it with Cure Moderate Wounds.
It's not a spell that I memorize, but it's important to note that they get Dispel Magic at this level and Break Enchantment at next level. Again, for spell words, you can get it in scrolls and wands and stuff. So,
Yep.
and I'm
And
always finding
I
Dispel
like to
Magic
keep
wands.
prayer on my hotbar. You guys talked about prayer. It is a cleric spell, but it's also a paladin spell at the higher levels. And it's useful whenever you have somebody who can't get there with a skill check.
Mhm.
Because you're talking about skill checks, for your different stuff, trap DCs, correct?
Yep. Occasionally, rarely, there's a few talkie bits where you need just that one extra skill point to do
Yeah.
the talkie optional bit. But
And the paladin can help. Boom. We're like plumbers, really.
so, what do you like at level 4? Because this is where I find that the spell slots become very tight.
Yeah, you really have to go, I'm going to memorize that, and I'm just going to have to leave that behind. At level 4, I like Holy Sword, Zeal, Death Ward, if there's no cleric around to cast it on me, and Cure Serious Wounds.
My paladin is, I think, 2 levels of fighter still, and I end up taking Cure Moderate Wounds because I can't fit Cure Serious Wounds in.
What do you take instead, Stalwart Pact or Break
Well,
Enchantment?
I only get Holy Sword, Death Ward, and Zeal, I think,
Oh, right.
because I'm not.
Because you're not cool. That's
I'm
cool.
not level 20. So, I mean, and Holy Sword and Zeal are no-brainers. 10% double strike, +1 to critical threat range and multiplier. I mean, you take them and you use them all the time.
Yeah, all the time, every day, for every reason.
So, you kind of already mentioned that paladins can use raise spells. Even if you
Yes.
don't take that enhancement, you can use the.
You can start using
you
the
can use
scrolls at
scrolls.
level 9.
Yeah.
Which
There's
is weird because you can't memorize the spell until level 12.
there's a couple other spells between. So for clerics and favored souls that you wouldn't normally think that you can cast, but you can. One of them is Blur through the War Priest lines, which you can, even if you don't take that line of enhancements, you can use Wands of Blur. So that can be a really handy trick to use. I think you can also get haste out of that line if you want to go that route. One thing that we didn't talk about that I really like is Sunbolt, which you can get on a cleric. I think you can get it through the casting tree, and favored souls, depending on what your deity is at the start, you get a completely scotch-free SLA at level 20. And if you are if you're one of the iconics from Forgotten Realms, you only get one deity choice, and that one's free SLA is Sunbolt, which is essentially a light damage version of Lightning Bolt, and it does a surprising amount of damage if you really spec for it. I think I'm doing somewhere around 14 to 1500 damage with a free spell that goes through things in a line to each character. So that's non-crit, so it's really potent. It's got a bit of a cooldown, but it does some damage. You can also get Sunburst, or versions of Sunburst as well. So,
Unyielding Sovereignty is pretty good in the Radiant Servant. If we're going to start mentioning enhancements.
Yeah.
I don't know if you talked about that.
We didn't, and it is kind of spell-like. But yeah, it's
it's
a great spell.
I guess what we consider,
Favorites or Morning Lords get a version of it that's instead of having a really long cooldown, it's like a certain number of times per rest. what it's called a different name too, but basically what these two, I think it's Rejuvenation of Dawn and Unyielding Sovereignty. What they do is they get rid of all your death penalties, and it's basically it heals you from everything kind of a spell. So can be useful in a pinch. It's a limited use thing. I think the cooldown on Unyielding Sovereignty is like 20 minutes, so it can be lengthy.
The wiki says 5 minutes. I know it used to be 10. I don't know if they've changed it. That's what the wiki says.
That's a lot shorter than I remember it being.
Yeah. Well, it used to be 10. I'm not sure if it's changed. I haven't noticed.
It's not a I can cast this all the time spell. That's the big thing. So, anything else you guys want to mention about Cleric and Paladin spells before we move on to news?
No.
Nope.
All right.
No, good to go.
We will then move on to game news for the week, and we'll start with the lousy news. Turbine announced that there are layoffs coming. This is the statement that they gave, the official statement. Turbine is transitioning into a free-to-play mobile development studio, and as a result, they are eliminating some positions. The Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons & Dragons Online games will continue to operate as they do now. Refocusing and reducing the studio size was a difficult decision for the company, and we are grateful to all of the Turbine staff for their considerable contributions. And then Cordovan chimed in. He said that they do appreciate folks' concerns about the well-being of the team, know that the team has read them. As with previous business-related decision-making like this, we can't really comment on personnel changes. We'd like to reiterate the part from yesterday's statement that DDO will continue operating as it is now. We'd add that no changes have been made to the development plans. We've gone through layoffs before, and we're still. I mean, they laid people off years and years and years ago too. So it's not the first time BDO's had people laid off, or Turbine's had people laid off.
Yeah, I don't think they've mentioned if it well, they said they wouldn't even say, but I'd like to know how that directly affects DDO. I know they said that they weren't going to change any of their development plans, but I'm just wondering if we're going to lose a dev or two.
My sense would be probably not, at least not from the development side, and that comes mostly from a perception. Again, they don't ever tell you how many people are. It's not it's their policy not to tell you how many people are actually working on any of the given games. But you look at the forums and you can kind of get an idea that, okay, Severlin and Knockback and No Worries, Vergwil and Steelstar are probably like the 5 main devs, and there's probably some support guys behind that. So you compare that to where the team has been in the past, it's already kind of become a much smaller team.
Yeah.
And they did say that it's going to continue to operate as they do now. Maybe we lose one of those people. It's kind of just a sense. So I don't really expect DDO to take as much of an impact from this round. We have in the past, but I mean that was like after Menace the Underdark launched, and there was a big draw.
Yeah, exactly. That's par for the course with this kind of stuff. You hire a bunch of people to help you create all this new content. And then once the new content is launched, you fire them so that you don't have to pay them any benefits. Yay! It's almost as good as outsourcing.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say, but I don't think we'll see a large impact in DDO. But we do at DDOCast send our best to the folks that have lost their job and wish you well in your future endeavors and hope you find a job quickly. So, let's see. Cannith Crafting got a second look version, so No Worries came on the forums and gave us kind of an update on Cannith Crafting and where it is. And we'll start by prefacing this and saying that this is all subject to change. But here we go. Lessah, are you ready to get excited?
Yes.
All right, here's the information for Cannith Crafting. They're going to go down to a single school, currently known as School Cannith. The school will have a level cap of 400, and all XP will carry over from the original 3 schools. The lower levels of the schools have had their XP curve adjusted. Here are some of kind of the level ranges for XP. again, this stuff can change. So level 50 is around 1250 XP. Level 100 is 7300. Level 150 is 30,000. So there's a significant ramp up in the curve here. Level 260 is 245,000. Level 340 is 473,000. And level 4 is 650,000 XP. Do you know what the XP cap is right now for a single school, Lessah?
I will tell you in 1 second. I will check on my main crafter.
Right.
So I'm confused what you said up here. So I have these 3 different schools. Let's say I'm level 50 in each school.
Mm-hmm.
So all those are going to mash them together
Yeah,
from all 3 schools?
The XP value is what I think they're going to mash together.
Okay, because it's not like they're just going to take the highest thing that I have and say that give me XP based off that. Because
Right.
each one of those schools is challenging to level up in.
Yeah, I mean they haven't.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't really done a lot of. I basically crafted up to where I could get something that I wanted, and then
I don't want to get
I don't
screwed
really
over,
care.
Patrick, is what I'm saying.
You're going to be better.
I don't
off
want to
than
get
before,
screwed over.
hopefully.
Well, hopefully, if I'm better off than before, then I'll be happy. If not, then oh yes, you will hear about it.
Oh, I know we will. I think. Let me look down here. I think there's some other information that we'll go through on some of that later. But Jerry has mentioned that there's kind of a tricky thing here. Like they want you to carry some benefit over, but there's also like a balance, and they're also increasing things. So you should not expect to be capped at level 4. That was level 400 just because you have all 3 schools capped, because they're adding more levels to it. They did say the treasurer level of Cannith Crafting will likely end up capping it what would be minimum level 34 instead of minimum level 33 as previously mentioned. Crafting difficulty. And this is where it got a little crazy. It's very formulaic, but I think it's one of those things that I'll read you the formulas and what the information, but it's probably going to make a lot more sense once you start actually crafting.
Okay.
So minimum level. So this is crafting difficulty. Minimum level shards will be their level times 10 for crafting difficulty, with the exception of minimum level 1, which will be 1. Unbound versions will be their level times 50 or times 10 plus 50. So a minimum level 20 shard would be a recipe difficulty of 200. An unbound minimum level 20 shard would be a recipe of 250. And what this is referring to is if they're converting Cannith Crafting to the same random loot system, so the benefit that you're getting is based on the minimum level of the item. The bonus here is you don't have to craft things to reduce minimum level and increase the plus of the item and all that stuff. It's just craft stuff on it, craft to minimum level. That's the bonuses you get. The plan is to divide the scaling effects from random loot into 3 crafting groups. The lowest group would be difficulty 1, second group would be difficulty 50, and the final group would be difficulty 100. On top of that, an unbound shard would add 150 to that number, and Insightful would add 175 to that number, and you can stack those. So you can make an unbound Insightful something from one of those groups. If it's just a random effect, the lowest group would be difficulty 1, second group would be difficulty 50, third group would be difficulty 100. If you wanted to make a second group unbound, it would be 50 plus the 150 for unbound, so it would be 200. If you want to add Insightful on top of that, you would add another 225, or it would be add another 175, so it would be, let's see, where are we at? 375 for all that. So that's kind of how it's going. Some non-scaling effects also don't have Insightful versions, so they will fall into different places along the crafting curve. These numbers are for normal scaling effects only. Okay, what's going to be in the different groups? Group 1 will be Guards, False Life, Wizardry, Enchantment, and Illusion Resist, Poison and Disease Ward, saves, damage resistances, skills, fortification, insight, and diversion. Which I think some of that stuff's new into what we can get. Group 2 will be amplification for negative repairing or healing, absorptions, parrying, dodge bonuses, accuracy, deadly, seeker, shield bashing, armor piercing, spell focuses, tendon slice, vertigo, stunning, shatter, stat poison, spell penetration, spell powers, weapon damages, and creature banes. Group 3 will be attributes, spell saves, resistance, riposte, sheltering, double strike, double shot, assassinate, combat mastery, melee and range alacrity, potency, weapon critical damages, weapon DRs, spell lores, and vampirism. Then it says natural armor is considered insightful, so it would show up in the first insightful tier, which is kind of weird. So just looking at that list really quickly, I would say that breaking weapon damage will be great. And I am definitely going to start crafting under the new system because I can put some of that random loot stuff together.
Yeah, I'm looking at maybe they've fixed vampirism.
Possibly.
Not a lot of people know this. Well, crafters will know this, but you can craft lesser vampirism really, really easy as a crafter. But whenever you get up to the higher levels, and I learned this whenever I made a barbarian, and I wanted something that had vampirism on it, I tried to make it, and I couldn't because one of the ingredients was this. You get it out of the Temple of All. It's like the Locus of All, and it still doesn't work. You can't craft it. And I couldn't understand why. And this was a problem years ago that just didn't get fixed. So maybe now it's been fixed. Yay.
Possibly.
Side note. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I didn't mean to derail you. Would you like to know how much crafting XP my main crafter has? And she's not capped.
How much do you have?
She has total crafting XP 115,338. So on your little scale here, I would fall somewhere between level 150 and 260.
I'd probably guess somewhere around 200.
And from what you
Maybe
said
lower.
earlier, I won't even be able to craft level 20 items.
Possibly.
Because you said you're not getting into the level 20 area until you reach 260.
I think because they say
That's
that
challenging.
the maximum level is going to be 400, and an unbound insightful shard is going to be 425 for the highest level. So I'm assuming it's going to work similar to right now, where you have a percentage chance based on your levels, your skill level, basically, for failure. So let's see. Exclusive effects. Below is a list of effects exclusive to random loot and Cannith Crafting. Note that this does not include clickies, which my immediate reaction to that is, we're getting clickies back?
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, I'm
What
going to make
clickies?
What?
Yeah, we've had clickies for a long
Let me
time.
out of to the
Did I hear a
crafting
kobold?
wall! Yeah, that's me.
Probably. So, stuff in random loot. Vorpal, speed, paralyzing, UMD boost, banishing, disruption, smiting, destruction, and ghostbane, which is being re-added to the random loot system. Cannith Crafting will have exclusively Metaline, Aligned, Everbright, Blue Shine, which is interesting. They haven't had Blue Shine in forever.
What?
Ghost Touch, Invulnerability, Vengeful, Unbalancing, Twilight, Lesser Arcane Spell Dexterity, Songblade, Slow Burst, Regeneration, Persuasion, Fearsome, Silver Flame, Sacred, and Eternal Faith, which are turning things, Efficient Meta Magic, which is fun, Blindness Immunity, and True Seeing. Consideration is also being made of adding good luck into random loot and having it be craftable. Same with Shadow Mantle. Underwater action will likely be added to random loot. Okay, there will be a single essence going forward, no lesser or greater, just a single essence. The exchange rate will be 1 greater to 1 of the new essence. The new essence will stack to at least 10,000. There will be a single remover, which will award a range of essences based on the minimum level of the item being deconstructed. They're also looking into mass deconstruction, so there's a possibility of an even better system, such as a deconstruct all. They're not at the point to say how possible that is yet. Disjunction will still exist and will prep the item for a new Cannith Crafting. Items previously disjuncted with the old system will need to be disjuncted, applied again to set them up to be used with the new system. So mostly we'll use the same thing. See, the only kind of difference here is that range of essence. Well, I think essences are already based on the minimum level of the item or whatever the item is. So, collectibles. Collectibles will be used in all the crafting recipes to help fill out the range of collectibles. New ones will be created that drop in the higher level and drop in both Forgotten Realms and Eberron. All right, Lessah, I will admit it. You were right. I should have been collecting collectibles, I guess. Exactly which collectibles and how many per recipes is still being designed. Purified Dragon Shards will still be used as well. They're creating a scaling treasure system for collectibles. Tiers will be broken down into 5 level ranges, and the collectible device in the dungeon will automatically check the level of the dungeon and pull from the correct tier. So if you run a level 5 quest on normal, you'd get the level 1 to 5 tier collectibles. If you run it on hard, you get the 6 to 10. If you're able to run those on epic difficulty, you get the higher tiers as well. They'll be adding collectibles to Forgotten Realms as well, with the Eberron-related lore ones removed. So North Shorewood, for example. As always, subject to change. So it seems like Cannith Crafting has now made a collectibles revamp.
What?
Hopefully that means that collectible rewards might be
I
revamped as well.
wish you could see my face. I'm just smiling and nodding.
I'm there with you. I've collected that stuff for years. Never thought it'd be useful.
I actually have a fairly sizable set of collectibles. It sounds like you'll need new ones too, though. So
Yeah.
But yes, I should probably start collecting collectibles.
To the auction house!
I think it's time to get that stuff on.
Yeah, I know.
As always, everything is subject to
It's
change.
gonna go up.
Some other things that they mentioned in kind of some questions and answers. There will be an exchange of lesser essences to the new Cannith essences, but the exact ratio will still have to be determined. It will not be 1-to-1, predictably. They have not yet finalized their plans for Cannith Crafting or Cannith Challenge gear and rune arms, but there will be some form of Cannith Crafting available to them as well. They've been designing the system in mind with the goal of not invalidating or devaluating current crafters nor their collected essences. For example, your old levels will be converted to provide you the same basic level of benefit in the new system, although there will now be further goals to reach. They are also making sure that essences convert fairly to our newer simplified system. They are considering what to do about the already crafted shards, but don't have something more specific to announce at this time. Conversion of old essences to new essences will be done by the player. That means no bags will explode as you log in on patch day. It also means that you can store the old ones until you need new essences, and there will be recipes to convert them in different groups at once. Therefore, you will not need to hit the repeat 1,000 times to convert your essences. Please, yes.
Ah.
There are fewer steps to create an item now, which should help with the grindy feel of making items. They're also trying new recipes with the machine animations off. As long as it doesn't result in any issues, that will be a big delay pulled out of the system as well. Same machines will be used as before. Guildship amenities should be up and running on patch day, minus the normal airship load times after a server restart. And all the different crafting bonuses, potions, artificer mark of making are planned to work the same after the changeover. There you go. There's all the information. My only thought is I'm going to have to learn how to craft.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
I know
That's
it's
a
not,
lot.
but I'm going to need
It's
to
a
be
lot of
crafting.
Boy,
information.
Voodoo Spice has a great beginner's crafting tutorial. He goes very slow. He explains everything in detail. It's wonderful. And then when you're ready for advanced class, he has one of those too. So
I think
check
it'd
out
actually
his
probably be more
YouTube
accurate
channel.
to say I don't need to learn how to craft. I need to actually craft.
You need to
Like,
actually
I need
do
to actually
it.
invest in it. It's going to be
But-
the thing.
It doesn't say in your notes here about it. It talks about lesser essences the exchange rate, right? For
They
from
haven't
lesser
determined
essences
it
to
yet.
the new essences. But what about? It doesn't say a word about graders.
Graders
So what
is
does that mean?
1-to-1.
I'm going to
It's-
have to
no,
take the time. Oh,
It's
okay.
farther up. There
Oh.
will be a single essence going forward. The exchange rate will be 1 grader to 1 of the new essence.
Sweet. All right. I have a couple of thoughts just before you
Go for it.
move on about this. It will be really nice to be able to tailor my absorptions.
Yeah.
Right now, I can only put absorptions on Trinket, and I have to have somebody's soul to do it. I have to have, for example, you got to get a greater elemental
You might still need those.
soul. What? To craft absorptions?
Maybe.
When
I
I
don't know.
can
It
just
didn't
go
say.
out and
It
get
actually
it
didn't say
as
anything about
a
soul
less than
gems.
level 10 character and have it up to 20%, and I only get it up to 33% on a trinket, I call foul, baby. You need to give me something. Did you hear that? Did you get all that? Write it down. I'm
Written.
angry. To the forums!
I think I seem to remember seeing something about like I don't know that you're gonna be able to just craft everything on like all these effects on anything you want. I think there'll still be limitations.
Yeah, but if
on
I
that,
can pull
but...
it at random on a cloak, why can't I make it on a
Well, the
cloak?
thing that's gonna be nice here is there's things like hey you can craft spell focuses and you can put the spell focus and the insightful spell focus on the same item that you want, or and stuff like that. So there's gonna be a lot of.
You can make it really nice.
It's basically put in the time and effort, and you can make
And you can make a
random
sheltering
loot that you
item?
want. That's
really
what
nice.
it's going to be. So
Yep.
yeah, a lot of
It's
great stuff here.
it's a lot of information to take in. Personally, I've never been into crafting. It was a little bit, I don't know. It's just I would rather spend my game time doing other things. But yeah, I might have to look into it now. It's a thing where I'm gonna have to actually get into the game and play around with it before I can get a sense of if it's a system that's gonna be worth my time. Because it's a lot of information just reading it in text to take in. I need to actually get in there and play around with it before I can know.
You
if I
want
like
all or nothing, don't you, Axel?
it. What do you mean?
You're the guy that goes to Vegas and he plays the slot machine with the car in the middle, and you're gonna walk away with the car, or you're gonna walk away broke.
That's not too unfair of a comparison. I just like with crafting, one thing I didn't like in the past was like all the clicking and all the kind of grinding inventory management aspect of it. If that's minimized, then yeah, I'll be interested.
Yeah.
Our chat is
My
saying.
advice
From our chat is saying, Crespin Dragons is saying crafting is a time sink. Some people will like it, some people will not. Sure. And, the random loot and the crafting system are going to be very close in parity now. There's going to be some things you can only find in one or the other. The big thing with crafting is going to be that you're going to be able to find the specifics that you want to have on the same item is going to be kind of the big thing. Low Flying is asking how high do these numbers go? I think it's going to be based on minimum level because everything's going to be scaling in the same manner that random loot does. So the difference is with random loot, there's a chance for stuff to be a little bit better. So your random loot stuff, I think, will potentially be incrementally higher. Not a lot, but I know like if you look at a level 30 item, sometimes you can get like a plus 15, sometimes you can get plus 16, maybe if you're really lucky you can get plus 17. I'm not sure if that's possible, but and I think with Cannith Crafting it's just going to be, okay, a minimum level 30 item would be plus 15. So I believe the intent is there's going to be the possibility to have slightly higher numbers in random loot. But again, that's going to be random, so you're kind of going with the luck of the draw. With the Cannith Crafting, you can put whatever you want specifically on those items, so that you can get things that match. So you can have plus 15 to strength and plus 7 insight to strength on the same item without having to go looking for it and getting a random roll. You were going to say, Lessah?
Oh, I was gonna say. You know what they don't talk about on this list, this Group 1, Group 2, Group 3 list, is what they aren't including. This is complete, right? I mean, I'm not missing anything, or...
Well, it's
They did
subject to
say subject to
change, so they might
change.
add something.
Because, you know what I don't see on here? I don't see wounding, I don't see puncturing, all the good old stuff.
There's stat
I can
poisons.
still- I can
stat
make-
poisons is in Group 2,
Okay.
which I think is what that would fall under. In any case,
Stat poisons.
I think
Okay.
we'll move on if we're ready to go.
Sure.
All right. Bonus days this week. Plus 30% guild renown and double daily dice through today. Store news, rise again. You can get 25% off of True Hearts of Wood, Lesser Hearts of Wood, XP elixirs, SP potions, and healing items. The freebie for the week is a greater remove negative level potion. The coupon code is remove negative level, or remove N level. RMVNLVL, no vowels. Let's see, that takes us to community news. So the 196th Chronicle, some spotlights. Dido Cocktail Hour interviewed Keith Baker. That was fun.
Did we? Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we?
Well, Samus and Keith talked for a while.
Yeah, they
You
talked
were-
for a long
you
time.
were
I was
shell-shocked
very
into
surprised.
silence. And I was just kind of hanging out in the background. Um, let's see, the Dido character planner has been updated, so you can check that out. Let's see, the High Lords of Malkir did a Fall of Truth and Reader's Fate teaching raid yesterday. I think they're wrapping up for this year. They'll probably be back next year as well. The Munchkin Summer Games will continue with Fall of Truth and Naked Shroud and Demon Queen. That was on Friday. That goes through the summer on Kyber. The Guild for the Week, the Order of Assassins, a new and ambitious guild on Orion looking for players to join them. The guild has a Kraken airship. The comment for the week, the fill in the blank. The party's not over until the bard blank.
I'm gonna go with until the bard's guitar strings break.
Okay, Lessah?
Oh, I immediately thought dies, but
I was thinking
probably
sacrifice.
not fair.
Bard
Oh, sacrifice! I like that better.
Let's see. We got a shout out for our Bards and Artificers spell selection episode last week for DDOcast. Damsels of DDO ran Mask of Deception. DDO Players News talked about Crystal Cove with special guest Bonnie Bew this week. Voodoo Spice has a tutorial on joining chat channels and modifying chat windows. Great. Real thing. The chat channels is not, and the chat window is not necessarily as intuitive as a lot of other things in DDO. So if you want to kind of play with some of that, check that out. MD Interactive had a video primer on character building. Shoemaker had tips and advice for writing in the DDO wiki in his newest show. Even though it was searching for one of the rarest items in DDO, the Jack Gibbers blade. Enrique is talking about latest questing in a new blog, and Mickey continued her solo adventures. DDO Gamer was on vacation. Congratulations to Jeff. I believe his son was getting married this week. But he had a lot of postcards from DDO, which are always kind of fun to look at. He takes good shots. Let's see. Crystal Cove is running through today, so if you haven't finished, finish it quick. And Cordova and Ren, Haunted Halls of Evening Star on his afternoon show that I was also on, hanging out and causing trouble. And there is a guide section on the forums that they're linking to as well. Some other DDO videos. MD Interactive, we mentioned before, has a video on how to build a good DDO character. So link to that. As I mentioned in the Chronicle, Voodoo Spice had a video on chat channels and how to change chat windows. Just some related tricks that he didn't mention that I kind of wanted to bring up. You can change the color of chat text in your options in the UI settings. So you can, if you want to change how the text appears. I think the default with user chat channels is the same as tell, which I don't like, so I changed the colors for that. So I can tell where stuff is coming from. And I did this weird thing with user chat channels that I put them all in the same color, but give it like a slight change, so each chat channel is sort of the same color, but but they're all slightly different, so I can read which one's which from which channel. The other thing with that is a little bit of a pro tip if you can use a lot of chat channels. Set your chat channels up in the same number orientation on different characters so you don't type things in the wrong channel. I have seen people get in a little bit of trouble when they type something about someone else in the wrong channel.
Oh, that's the best.
A few times. Yeah, it's true. It can be entertaining, but some things to think about. You can also do some clever things. I like to take loot out of my party chat, so I think it defaults to being in your party chat, and I take it out so that in my general tab I can see the loot scroll by, but then I can switch to my party tab to see that, hey, someone is rolling something, or did I miss anything while loot was flying by as people were looting 500 items out of a chest. So you can do some fun stuff like that. Or do you guys have any quick chat tips?
I do. 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 I Don't ignore it.
Nothing coming to mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't ignore it.
Figure out what works for you. I keep everything in my I take out the NPC and the say stuff. I usually leave Dungeon Master in my general chat, but otherwise I put in all my chat channels and everything in my general chat. And then I have other windows set up that if I need to, like if I wanted to go back and read a conversation in the chat channel that I was kind of ignoring, I can switch to my chat channel tab and catch up on that stuff. That's kind of how I work it.
I typically keep one for general, one for party, and one for guild, and that's enough for me.
Let's see. Notes to Strike a Chord had their 9th episode, talking about levels 10, 11, and 12. Blogs this week. DO Players News had 91st episode. We mentioned Even Notes blog on looking for the Jack Jibbers blade. Bonnie Bew had a post on the Island of Lost Cosmetics, which had a bunch of pictures of cosmetics that my understanding was basically that she tried to apply a Mirror of Glamoring to old cosmetic items and got not that cosmetic it removed the outer layer, I think, and then just had like the base layer, so it had kind of different looks. Some of them were actually kind of fun to kind of look pretty good, actually, but kind of a weird one. Enrique talked about not forgetting about wands and using wands to expand your spell list. We talked about that a little bit today. Massively Overpowered had their daily grind article today was what inspires you to ignore another MMO player. Mostly people that are mean or don't listen. That's kind of the two that I go with.
Yeah, I maybe have not even 5 people on my ignore list, and it's only because they been using profanity, things like that, or being abusive in chat, but that's super rare.
Yeah, DDO players aren't really not horrible people.
Mostly.
Yeah, mostly not horrible people. There's always the exception to the rule, but DDO players are actually pretty cool.
It's a good community. Let's see. DDOCast news. DDOCast will be returning this Tuesday, so we'll be doing that again. I don't remember if we figured out what we were going to be doing. We're, level 12, 13? So we're getting into some of the higher levels. There's some more fun stuff to be running. I think that pretty much wraps up our community news, which means we'll go to Lightning Post. We got some comments from our... we're talking about Bard spells and Artificer spells last week. Idol wrote in that Soundburst is awesome on a caster spell singer. Even if you're enchantment spec, you'll have the spell penetration and DCs to use it effectively. Conversely, you can go with an evocation caster and use Soundburst, Shout, and Greater Shout, and the Horn of Thunder SLA from the Spellspringer tree. It's quite effective and it has synergy with in the Draconic Destiny with an electric spec. He said he'd debate me on bards not having good spell points. A spell singer, you can easily reach upwards of 3,500 spell points with little effort due to having a ton of extra spell points in the tree. True. They just tend to have less than other casting. And if you're going to really go like DZ casting, you might burn through it pretty quick. But debate away. You raise good points there. He's also glad that we mentioned enchant weapons for artificers. I don't know how many times I've been asked, seen a near pure artificer in the party who didn't have enchant weapons. It would be nice if people actually knew it was helpful with casters, because +1 enchantment bonus equals +3 to universal spell power. It's not much, but it's a lot better than deadly weapons for them. And Philip wrote in and said, a useful fact, single target repair spells are given as bonus slots on artificers, as are inflict damage spells, which is a very good point, something that we forgot. Catching up on the chat room here a little bit, Lowflying was asking in terms of Cannith Crafting, what about colored slots on items? My assumption is it's going to work the same as it does currently, which you have to find an item that has a colored slot and deconstruct it, and it'll keep the slot.
I noticed your notes didn't say anything about that, but I remember the last time we discussed this, it was mentioned that those slots might go away.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it'd be interesting to get clarification on that.
There wasn't anything in my notes for the show. I think we mentioned it before. I'm not positive, but that's kind of what I'm guessing, based on what I vaguely remember from a couple shows ago. But they'll probably give us some more information on that later. And you know, feel free to jump into the. We're going to link to that forum thread, so you can jump in and ask, and hopefully they'll answer it. Crispin and the Dragons also mentioned that game really needs some new random augments. Maybe add them to old raids to get them to run for the augments. So there's two things about that. One is they've said that they want to do some work on the augment system before they add augments. That's basically what the holdup is. So the general plan that I've kind of seen or inferred is they're going to finish Cannith Crafting, and then they're going to probably devote some of that time they use for that to look at revamping augments, so that we can get new augments in the game and get a better augment system that's less resource intensive in terms of game performance. As far as putting them in old raids, maybe. I had this debate recently with some people on my server. There's a balancing act. Players want new content. That's kind of the overwhelming theme, is players want new content. So putting stuff in, revamping older content isn't necessarily as cost effective in terms of the resources they have in terms of devs to do new content. If you revamp old stuff, you have to pull your resources from making new stuff into doing that. So it's just kind of a balancing thing. I'm not saying that I wouldn't like to see people run older content. I'm just saying that's something you got to keep in mind. The survey question for the week comes from Enzite Bob on Orion. What class or build have you found that is tough to play? I'll say for me, it's Favorite Soul. Until this last iteration, I have failed miserably at building a viable Favorite Soul that I liked to play.
I feel the exact same way about that. I completely agree with you. You took my answer.
I have a for fun character that's an enchantment-focused wizard. Just, I know it's not optimal build, but it's kind of fun, just a fun character, and he's kind of challenging to play because you got to know, there's a lot of wizard spells to know, and his DPS isn't very good, so
Yep.
It's a lot of running and charming and holding.
My DC caster right now is he's not as effective as he used to be. I'll put it that way. But my Favorite Soul was definitely, and part of it was the first time I tried to build a Favorite Soul. I was trying to do some synergy things with Monk and using long swords and whirling blades, and he just kind of turned out to be not very good at doing what he was trying to do, and not very good at other things, so it just wasn't a very good character. And then I tried to do something. It wasn't. This iteration is light-based and going for light power, and it's been a lot more enjoyable and a lot more effective. Still not my best character, but it's at least something that can do some. You can be an effective member of a party. So, with that, we'll close out the show here. Alex, do you want to plug your YouTube page?
Yeah, I run a YouTube channel called Axel's DDO channel. You can find me just by searching Axel DDO in YouTube, or you can find me on the fan site section of DDO.com. Not too much content lately, but hopefully I can get some stuff up there soon. But I have over 100 videos on all kinds of different topics, so check it out.
Lessah, do you want to plug your stuff?
Sure. I am hostess of the DDO Cocktail Hour. We do the Cocktail Hour live show every Friday on Samus's Twitch channel from 12:30 to 1:30ish. And then I am 1/3 of Damsels of DDO. We're proud members of the DDO live stream team. You can catch us every other Tuesday at 11 Pacific time, 2 a.m. Eastern. Ooh, it's really late. Take a power nap. It's worth it. Or you could just, catch the highlights on the DDO stream, not DDO stream, YouTube channel, but Dungeons and Dragons online YouTube channel, because that's where all our shows get posted. So.
And catch the podcast.
Yeah. The podcast following day on my Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/Lessah101.
And you can get that at damselsofddo.com.
Damsels of DDO, yes. Man, you are just not gonna let me get away without plugging anything. Man, Patrick,
it's a great show.
No, thank you. Yeah, damselsofddo.com. check it out. It is a very good show, especially the last couple. I especially like it whenever I fight with Saba Jade on the show. That's my favorite.
I'll say it again.
And
you three
also,
have some of the best
we have
dynamics.
great chemistry.
So, yeah.
Because
your
we're so
banter
different.
is great.
And once again, I have managed to work a mention of Saba Jade into a podcast where she's not on it.
Yeah.
So just keeping it going. Love you, Saba. Ah!
So thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for the folks in the chat room hanging out with us. Thanks to Lessah and Axel for joining me today. And thanks to all the other contributors for DDOCast. It's a great group of folks really making help this show a lot of fun for me and for everyone listening. And thanks to Turbine and Wizards for making DDO happen, and thanks to Turbine for supporting DDOcast. And thanks to Cyberbears for hosting the podcast. You can hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, swag, or other fun stuff. If you'd like to be part of the show, or if you have a comment on this episode or a question you'd like to hear us answer, or a topic you'd like to hear us debate for our debate shows, just want to say hi, leave a comment. Email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates. Our closing tip this week comes from Even Note on Thelenis. Try everything, and when you find what's the most fun for you, stick with it. Great advice. So, until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chests level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to start crafting.
Ooh.
Yeah, you like how I worked that in there?
Yeah, I like it. This is good.
Yeah.